Well, hello, it's Dr. Cheryl Fraser. Great to be back with you with another brand new episode of Sex, Love, and Elephants. And hey, if you like what you are hearing about how to create the passion, the connection, the communication, how to communicate better, and all the important things that we need to develop and hone if we're in a long-term relationship, and I mean more than a couple of years, make sure you actually take my passion quiz. You can click below, take you right to a quiz where you're going to rate your own relationship right now on the three keys to great relationship, what I call the three keys to passion. You'll get a score, you'll get some feedback on how you're doing, where you're strong and where you're weak, and how you can improve your long-term love. So make sure you take the passion quiz, and you'll also then be registered to get weekly love bites, links to videos and quick tips I send out every Tuesday right to your email box. Wow, let's all create love that lasts a lifetime together. All right. Well, welcome to this episode. And I'm going to be talking about how you need to rewrite your love story mindfully. Intrigued? I hope so. Let's go back. Let's go back to when you were dating and you probably had a pretty positive, open mind, hopefully a curious, open mind about the person you were going on dates with. In other words, you were curious, you were open to finding out about them. And of course, if you found out things that were completely not in your lexicon of what you want in a great relationship, they never wanted kids, they weren't interested in settling down, etc., and you were looking for something different, you moved on and you stopped having dates with that person unless you were a masochist. And if you were, you've grown beyond that now, and I commend you for it. But what we used to do earlier in our relationship, and a few of you are still really good at this, and many of us are not, is we had overall a positive attitude about our partner. So, for example, if they made a mistake, or maybe they were a little bit grumpy on our seventh date or something, and then they said, look, I'm really sorry. I was worried about work and my brother, he's struggling, and I wasn't really focused and I wasn't really paying attention to you. And I think I was grumpy. I apologize. We were probably very forgiving. We probably were looking for the positive things that our partner did. We were looking for the good things. We were looking for the best of them. Now, let me take a little sidebar here, because this episode's about in your long-term relationship, more than a couple of years together. Some of us together, I've been together 11 years with my hubby. Some of you listening have been together 20, 30 years. I have some couples in my program, 40 years together, got married in their teens. However, we are in our long-term relationship. Today's episode's about training your mind to do a much better job of defaulting toward a positive point of view. Thinking positively about your partner, writing positive stories about your partner. Hang tough. I'm going to give you a couple of short and more elaborate examples and practices and exercises that you can do. But first, sidebar. The downside of dating, when we're looking for the good and kind of being more forgiving and more flexible and more gracious about the things we don't like, is it can swing the wrong way, where you are, oh, they love skiing and I love skiing, and oh, they were really rude to that waitress, but they're probably just having a bad day. And oh, they were really rude to the person who parked our car. They're probably just having a bad day. What I mean is, I'm not talking today about ignoring or allowing or tolerating behaviors that are really poor behavior. If your partner's consistently rude and condescending and putting down servers at restaurants, or people that wait on you, or customer service wherever you go, that's something you probably should bring up with them, even if they do not turn that nasty, condescending tone on you and say, hey, babe, I think you're better than that. I don't like that quality of how you behave with people. Can we talk about it? What I'm saying is this: when you were dating, you might have had rose-colored glasses, and you might have ignored things that were really part of your partner's personality that made them incompatible for you in the long term. That's not what today's about. Okay, so today's about, in your longer term committed relationship, how can you work with your own mind to be happier? Let's cut to the chase. To be happier with your relationship, to be happier yourself, to be happier with your partner, and frankly, kinder, more understanding, and more patient with your partner, as I very much hope they will be with you. Psst, get them to listen to this episode. So the concept I'm bringing to you today is that we tend to have a negativity bias in the human mind. One of my geek out things is I'm really interested in neurology, brain science, etc. I was accepted to medical school eons ago when I decided to go into this work, the work of the soul, the mind, the heart, psychology, etc. But I'm still very interested in medicine. And if I'd gone to medical school, I probably would have specialized in neurology. Now, our brains and our thinking, here we are, all sophisticated people with these big brains in 2024, yay us. But our brains evolved from cave days and before. Our brains have certain survival patterns that it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how modern you are, or how well educated you are. Your brain still has some pretty caveman, cave woman, cave person, cave non-binary, distinctive, whomever we identify with patterns. And one of them is a negativity bias. Now, this used to be a good thing. Let me explain why. In the cave days, the cave people that survived were the ones who were scanning the environment for what was wrong. Their brain was looking for what was wrong, what was off, what was out of place, because those things could kill you. So the cave people who survived to pass on their genes, who eventually X amount of hundreds of thousands of years later or whatever, ended up being Cheryl Fraser in each of you, were the cave people who effectively woke up in the morning, stuck their head out of their cave, and they were cautious. They were looking for what was wrong. What didn't they like? What could hurt them? What could harm them? They survived. You know who didn't survive is our ancestors who were like super chill. Their brain wasn't looking for what was wrong. They were like, I don't know, super positive people. And it killed them because they woke up, they stuck their head out of the cave. Actually, they didn't even stick their head out. They just walked out, probably butt naked, saluting the sun in their hairy greatness, female or male. And they went, oh, it's a beautiful morning. And bam, they got eaten or killed by an arrow or something, or someone hucked a rock at their head from the other tribe or whatever happened. This may sound kind of funny because I'm making it kind of funny, but the point's really important. What helps us survive is a tendency of our brain to look for what's wrong, not for what's right. Fast forward to now. Spring, heading into summer 2024. So often, and I work with hundreds and hundreds of couples in my Become Passion program. If you're a regular listener, you've heard about it, or you've even joined it. I'm in the midst right now of taking my Spring 24 group through a 12-week program with live coaching from me, an entire curriculum on the 3 keys to passion, the 3 keys to great relationship. It's an in-depth, very interactive, profound program. I'll be offering it again in fall 2024. So if that intrigues you, you might want to get on the wait list. There's no obligation, but leading up to the October offering of the fall version of my program, which a few of you will probably choose to join, I'll be giving some free Zoom workshops and some chances to meet with me on Zoom and ask your questions of me. And if you're on the wait list, you'll be the first to be invited to those. So you can check below where you're listening to this podcast for those deets. In that program, we work a lot on a lot of things. And one of them is identifying the negativity bias in our relationship with our partner. Our minds tend to look for what's wrong and not what is right. See if you identify with this. Or it may be in your partnership that you don't do this quite as much, but your partner does it a bunch. In my relationship, I have a much stronger tendency towards a negativity bias in the way my critical mind works than my partner does. Now, this great mind I've been given, thank you, genetics and luck, is really good at doing what I do, at pulling complex ideas together to teach them to beautiful people like you, to work with hundreds and hundreds of couples, to survey thousands of couples. For 25 years, I saw a lot of couples in my private practice. And so often, what is reported and what I can struggle with in my own relationship is looking at what your partner's doing wrong and over focusing on it. For example, I will give you an example from my own life from 2 or 3 days ago that I'm not particularly proud of, but I'm more than happy to share real life with you to hopefully inspire you and let you know that just like you, my sweetheart and I need to continually work on improving our relationship because we really value deep and profound long-term love. So, my dear man, who's given me permission to share this publicly, has suffered since he was a small boy with pretty profound ADD. Super smart, super hard worker, but really struggles with detail. And he will, for example, if he was, say, cleaning up a garage, we don't happen to have a garage, but go with me. He could do an excellent job of 85% of it, but he would miss and simply not see the other 15%. So let me wet my whistle here. Got to keep that voice ready for you. Okay. So here's the thing. We had to teach, he was teaching men's night and I was teaching women's night to my ongoing group of couples. There are people who do the 3-month program who then choose to continue working with me month to month. And we do some very cool things together. And one thing is once a month, my husband and my assistant, they lead a men's night for all the guys. And I lead a women's night. And I lead a women's night for all the women. So this was at 5:30 Wednesday night Pacific time. We're scrambling to get ready. We were out doing some errands, so we got home late. He said, no problem. I can whip supper together by 5 p.m. Give us 20 minutes to eat and chat about the program. Well, he's not a great planner, so we didn't end up eating till 5:20. We had to both teach at 5:30, etc. And that was fine. I ate some of my food, put the rest aside for later. I was a little ticked that it wasn't ready on time. I had a bit of a negative thought about it. Then, right before I sat down at my computer, I went to put my dish in the kitchen and it looked like a bomb had gone off. I swear, this man had used every dish in the kitchen to make this simple and I must say delicious meal. He served us sort of a Mexican vegetarian fiesta taco extravaganza or something. It was delicious. And my thought was, damn it, he always makes such a mess. But here's what I did. I used one of my own techniques. This is a shorthand version of a longer technique I teach in the program of rewriting the negative story in your head. And I did a quick one then and there, which is my brain could focus on what was wrong, quote unquote, at least from my biased point of view, which was the messy kitchen and the fact that the meal was delivered right before we had to teach, so we couldn't really enjoy it. And instead, I switched my mind to say how great that he whipped together a meal that was delicious. He got it to us before we taught, and I know he'll clean up the kitchen after he teaches. So what did I do there, everybody? There was an immediate negative thought. A lot of you relate to this. But if we'd just been dating, and it was, I don't know, our 5th date, and he'd come to my home and made me a beautiful meal and left the kitchen really messy, but I knew he'd actually clean it up later because he would and did. I knew he would. I would have been like, oh my Lord, a man who can cook. Wow, am I ever lucky that this romantic guy made this effort to make me a beautiful meal. I would have looked at the positives in the same situation. So to make this even more fun, I mentioned that right away, I was teaching the women's group to all the women in my ongoing couples program who work with me long-term. And he was going upstairs to the other office to teach the men. And so I said, ladies, I need your help. And I took a photo of the kitchen that looked like a bomb had gone off in it. And I uploaded it on the Zoom for everybody to see. And I said, I need your help, ladies. I was like, wanted to strangle him when I walked in the kitchen and my negative thought jumped up and it was like, oh my goodness, he's such a disaster and what a mess he's left. Grr. And I said, and I managed to change my thoughts, but I need your help. And my favorite comment of many was from one woman who said, Cheryl, my guy who I love, they've been married 42 years. She said, he can't even boil water. No, like I literally mean he can't even boil water. So if I walked into a kitchen like that and he'd made me a great meal, I wouldn't mind one bit. I said, fantastic. Thank you for the changing the negative to the positive. And then another woman who she and her husband have the reverse pattern to my husband and I. She's the one who would whip the meal together and leave the kitchen in chaos. He's a bit OCD the way I can be, not clinically, but in my style. And so she got on and said, yeah, I think it's totally fine. He got it done. The meal was ready. It was delicious. He'll clean up later. Who cares about the dishes? So it's so helpful to crowdsource, but we don't in regular life, to crowdsource other couples and to talk to them about these things that are going well or not going well in our relationship. So this is why I love working with couples just like you in the 12-week program, and some continue on in this advanced program, is we learn from each other. So what I want you to do today is to learn from this podcast right now. I want you to self-diagnose. Do you tend to have a critical mind? You may or may not, or maybe you do some of the time when you're tired or you're particularly overwhelmed, etc. Mine tends toward that. Again, that's super helpful when I'm writing an email to y'all and catching the typos. It's super helpful when I'm planning my programs, designing my courses. I do all of the work of my programs myself. There are no damn robots involved. I write every word. I teach every word. Everything in my programs I design myself. You actually get me. I'm the one who teaches you live during the live calls in the 12-week program. You actually get the expert. So it's terrific that my mind helps me spot problems, troubleshoot, create things that really work, design things that are helpful, redesign them to make them stronger. But in my relationship, in my home, with my love, that same mental style can be destructive, even cruel and unkind. If I walk in the house and there are half a dozen things he's done that day, which are fantastic, I notice he's washed out all the pet bowls and filled up the cat water fountain, and he's built a cat tree for the cats outside, and he's finished the deck he was building. He was building a railing around the new deck we'd had put on. I'll notice all those, but then I might notice he didn't fold his laundry. It's in a big untidy heap on top of the dryer, and now his clothes are all wrinkled, which in my opinion means, well, I mean, I don't really care if he wears wrinkled clothes, but he doesn't really like to. So it's kind of like you need to run them through again or iron them. And ironing is not happening in our house. What do I say? Do I say, babe, could you fold your laundry, please? Or do I say, hey, looks like you did a great job outside on the deck railing. Well done. Thanks a lot, honey. Do we have to say all the things we notice? I will jump to the answer. The answer is a resounding no. No, we don't need to say all the things we see. And if you have a mind like mine, you'll notice all of them. You're detail oriented. One of the greatest things we can do for our relationship is not open our mouth when we notice things that we wish were a bit different. You know what I could do? I could fold his clothes for him as an act of kindness and put them in his closets in the spare room. Mine's in our room. Put them in the spare room where he can put them away. Or I could simply just ignore them. He'll eventually run out of underwear and he'll go fold his clothes. I don't need to mention it. And I certainly don't need to mention it in an unkind or picky or critical or frustrated or judgmental way. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. I thrive in order. It doesn't have to be rigid order, but I like when the house is fairly organized, reasonably tidy, not a clean freak or anything. We've got 5 rescue pets. I can't be a clean freak. It's fine. But you know, the blanket we used last night when we watched a movie is folded or kind of tucked away, not in a big heap. If I walk in downstairs where my home is, my office here is upstairs where I'm in my recording studio right now, and things are untidy, I feel a little bit of stress. And I sometimes, fairly often, allow that stress to come out by saying, hey, it's really messy in here. Can't you fold the blanket or whatever? And it's not fair. It's not fair because he's a different human than me. Sharing a home, sharing a bed, sharing a life needs to involve some really graceful compromise, adaptation, and openness to each other's style. So back to the beginning. Today's about rewriting the negative story in your head. As I like to say, how can we rewrite our love story mindfully? You will be a happier person, a calmer person, and importantly, a kinder and more patient and more loving and less judgmental partner, spouse, lover, etc. if you rewrite your negative stories much more often. Everything from something small like, they're taking so long to park the car. I'm a better parallel parker than them. But you don't need to say anything out loud. You can just quietly hum to yourself and be gentle till your partner's parked and say, good job, baby. Or if they're really struggling, say, you're doing fine, but if you want, I can park it just because I've had way more experience parallel parking than you love, whatever you like. But instead, come on, turn the wheel this way, do it that way, do it so often. And I can be guilty of this, so I'm not judging you, I'm not blaming or shaming anybody, but smarten up. If on our first 3 dates, we picked on everything that we pick on now, there wouldn't have been a 4th date. Think about it. If on dates 1, 2, and 3, you were like, oh, don't park there. That's a bad parking space. You should park over there under the shade, obviously. Or no, you shouldn't order that. It's not really good for your health. You really shouldn't have fries. You should have salad. Or, oh, really? That tie does not go with that shirt. Okay, nobody wears ties on dates anymore, but I'm just saying, kind of Mad Men, 1950s reference there, I think. I'm not even that old. Or, Your house would be much better if you changed the blinds. It's really dark in here. Just think about it. Think if someone had those kinds of things to say to you on your first 3 dates. Well, there might not have gone to even 3 dates. I'm just saying you might have given them one or two extra chances to see, were they just super nervous? Is that why they were being so damn unpleasant? What's the moral of the story? One of the things that causes a great deal of relationship distress is just not feeling accepted by our sweetheart, not feeling as though they think we're good enough, not feeling as though they accept us as we are, as they say, warts and all, not feeling like we can be ourselves within this relationship and have it be accepted, even if it's very different than our partner. Now, one of the beautiful things we hopefully do as a loving team is we also create compromise and ways to work together, especially when we share a home, bed, and life, that are like, maybe one of you is like super untidy and one of you is super, super clean freak. Find some sort of compromise. Everything from cleaning really matters to me, I'll do 100% of it, don't worry about it, to let's create a chores list we agree on where you're responsible for XYZ things and you do them well. And if you tend to forget to do them, let's make it a you do it on Monday and you do it on Thursday thing. To this is something we fight about all the time. It's not worth the pain and suffering. Let's hire a cleaner, a housekeeper to come in once or twice a week. There are innumerable ways to compromise on something you argue about and you have a negative story about and you pick on your partner about, or they do on you. And it causes a hell of a lot of misery. Low grade misery that happens a bunch of times a week or a bunch of times a day adds up. Even if you really love each other, you're very committed to each other, and you have a lot of strengths. If your day involves a lot of, as at my worst, I used to do, I'm cleaning it up, I'm much better now, but negativity bias of do this different, can you please do this differently? You forgot this, you didn't do that. It'd be great if you did this. I need you to do that. Even if I'm in a good mental state and in a good state of heart and I'm feeling loving towards my partner, pointing things out isn't that helpful all the time. If you have employees at work that you need to bring along and help them be better team players and be more effective at skills that you might be much more experienced in than them, you can kind of get picky and critical and always point out what they're doing wrong. They'll end up probably somewhat demoralized. They might not love working for you and they might feel like a bit of a failure. There are other ways to lead and create behavior change. Point out the positive first. This I call the dog biscuit theory of marriage. Dog lover here, probably lots of you as well. When I train pups and older dogs, I train them using positive reinforcement and clicker training. So I reward the behavior I want and I ignore the behavior I don't. Simple example, if you have a dog that barks madly every time the doorbell rings and you'd like to train that behavior out of them, it's not that easy to do. But there's all sorts of techniques, and the one I follow, because psychologically and behavior change-wise it's more powerful, is I reward the dog when it's not barking. I ignore it when it barks. This is actually pretty hard training. You need to be on it. You need to be available with a treat, with a clicker, with a reward. Every time they're quiet, they get a reward. I'm not going to teach a dog training right now, but if I were, it would be something like get a friend to come to the door and text them and say, don't ring the doorbell yet. Have your dog there, be giving it treats, keeping it calm. Doorbell rings. If it doesn't bark, treat, etc. The point is you reward the behavior you want and you ignore the behavior you don't. When I call this only partly tongue-in-cheek, the dog biscuit theory of marriage, what I'm saying is reward the behavior you want. So let's go back to, let's say your partner takes their clothes out of the dryer, dumps them in an untidy heap on top of the dryer because they're busy or they forget or the doorbell rings and the dog barks or whatever happens, and they forget to go back and fold the laundry and put it away. And you see said laundry. As I said, you could simply fold it with a good heart and put it away yourself. That's a great thing to do. But the other thing to do is to ignore it and reward the partner by a compliment or an acknowledgement, a sincere one, on the times you come down and the laundry's been folded and put away. You can go, hey, babe, thanks a lot for doing the laundry. Hey, babe, I appreciate you folded the laundry and put it away. I feel a little stressed when it's untidy in there. And it's really nice. I walked in and it was nice and clean and tidy. Calm me down. Appreciate it. Reward the behavior you want. Rewrite the story in your head that says, what a jerk they are. They never do the laundry. Probably never's not true. Absolutes are rarely true, but I have to do everything around here. Negative story. And it comes with physiological distress, feeling kind of stressed, feeling kind of upset, or worse, because that story can spiral into they really are lazy. I'm the decision maker. We're so unbalanced as a couple. I have to do everything. And then you're building a story that's not entirely true. And it's affecting your mood and emotions. You might have cortisol in your bloodstream, adrenaline in your bloodstream, changes in your neurophysiology that makes you feel fearful, upset, anxious, or angry. And it could go into this huge argument. Your partner's happily, I don't know what they're doing, making you dinner. And you go in and say, I can't believe you didn't do the laundry and I do everything around here, and you're in a fight if you don't have the skills to get out of them. Some of the things I teach in the Become Passion 12-week program are stepwise tools to help us learn to have a toolbox to be able to back off from those kind of arguments and begin again. So today, bringing you those ideas about how to create and deliberately choose to not let your cave person mind, not let the mind that's like, oh, it's all a disaster or we're going to die, say, whoa, 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 it's just a pile of laundry. I love this person. They do tons for me around here. Let it go, Cheryl. Fold it yourself. Don't say anything. Do it for them. Let it go. Let go of the negative story, deliberately rewrite it like how cool it is that my sweetie did the laundry, doesn't expect me to ever do his laundry. And no doubt he forgot to fold it. No big deal. It's probably because he was walking the dog because I couldn't today. I was out of the office all day, or he was getting groceries because I was too busy. What a marvelous, loving, terrific partner I have. And that is the energy I can then bring to him to say, hello, babe. Hope you had a great day. Thanks for walking the dog and getting the groceries. What a beautiful way to come together. Compare that to, hey, could you fold your damn laundry? As the first thing you say. Guilty? Not guilty. Sometimes guilty. Is your partner guilty? Either way, take this podcast as a call to action to begin to clean up your mind and to rewrite those stories from the negative to the positive. There's so much more to say about this, but this is an introduction today to get you thinking about, do I have a negative mind tendency with my sweetheart? And if so, am I willing to start to clean that shit up? Okay? Okay, well, that brings us to today's love bite, which is rewrite your love story mindfully. It's up to you to direct the story your mind is spouting and change it into one based in love, in respect, and in happiness. Thanks so much for joining me. Be with you soon. Bye for now.